Welcome back to the Djinn's Treasure. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, happy holidays. Today is December 7th, I think, or maybe December 9th. It's the holidays. It's been a blur. It's all going so fast. I hope everyone is well, and I hope all the loved ones are doing well. With that, let's get into it. Today, we are going to do something festive for the holidays. It's a very simple ring design, and I'll be attaching this reindeer onto a ring, so it will show like that. It's the simple spiral ring design. You may or may not have seen my videos in the past. This one's going to be a little different because instead of a bead, crystal bead, we're going to be adding this charm instead. So because of the way this is shaped, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and liberate the reindeer free from that circle that was up top there, and then we want to make sure that we go ahead and trim that a little better. Well, trim it as best as I can, and then I'm going to take a nail file and just brush the top of that so that there's no more sharp edges. And it won't take much. I have a steel nail file here, and it's pretty strong, pretty durable. You could probably hear the scratching. When you are doing the file, make sure that here, I'll show you. So we have coming at it from this angle, and then we switch around to that angle, and then everything in between as well. We want to make sure that we can cover the as much all of the angles possible, because we don't want any scratchy angles. We don't want any pokey jewelry. Nobody likes pokey jewelry. It's one of my favorite things to say during my workshops, is to make sure that when you're designing a piece, you don't leave out any pokey tips, because nobody likes pokey jewelry. All right, and then as you noticed, I did a little bit and then I stopped just to feel the edges here. It's feeling better, but it's still just a little bit sharp, or enough that it can catch. So a few last little scrapes here, going both ways, back and forth. And I would say that's probably good enough for now. I think I may have even overdid it and ended up making a sharper edge. That's good for now. This is really just more for a tutorial anyway. The point is that you don't want to have any sharp edges there. And this one feels pretty soft. Alright, so we'll set the charm down for now. Next, we're going to take some 18 gauge silver plated copper jewelry. As you saw, I use that brand Anesis. You can get this online. Currently, it is one of my favorite plated metal wire brands. And we're just going to do like one wrap around the spool is really all you need. That might even be too much, but that's okay. So we'll, instead of clipping right at the edge here, we'll bring it over and then clip right there, and we'll push the rest of that in. And now we have this wire that's probably about a little bit less than the length of the forearm. And we're going to pinch down the tip of the pliers with our needle nose pliers and curl a little hook like that. And then just to start, and then we'll go ahead and continue to wrap a spiral, making sure that we don't coil. The difference between a coil and a spiral, you could see how the spiral will get wider and wider as the circles go around. Just a moment, I'm noticing that my storage is getting full, so I'm going to have to take a second to stop and correct that. Thanks for that moment. Looks like I had an old 45-minute long video that needed to get removed. I've already uploaded and posted that, so there was no need to keep it on my storage space. So as you saw, I just with my fingers here just pinch and rolled, continuing to roll that spiral, which is different than a coil. We want to make sure we're doing spirals, not coils. in a moment I'll show you what the coil looks like. So you see how I have the spiral on one end, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually it's a little bit too long of wire, so I'm gonna trim that off a little bit. And then at this tip end, I'm gonna do another spiral. Ideally, you would want the spiral to be rolling in the opposite direction. So if this one spirals downwards, then this one spirals upwards. But the truth is, it won't necessarily matter because we'll be able to twist or manipulate the wire accordingly anyways. But just for good practice, go ahead and, if you will, just spiral it to set it up so that the spirals are going in the opposite directions. Now from here, we are gonna get our, I always forget the name of this tool. I think it's called like a carrel or something, carrel. We're just gonna wrap our spiral around the rounded edge part. And you wanna make sure that you measure, if this is for your own finger, sometimes you could even just use your own finger. Or if you have a specific size in mind, you wanna make sure. So if we were to go for a size 9, I'll press one of those spirals down there and then have the other spiral come around, and you can see we have a lot of extra to work with. So what we're gonna do is just twist some spirals to eat up all that extra length, and we want to make sure that our spirals are kind of symmetrically the same size. So if we twist some more on this end on that spiral, then we twist some more on this spiral, and then we can once again put that in place and see we're coming a little bit closer, but we have a little bit more to work with. And that's fine. We generally don't want to have too large of a spiral, but it looks like these are coming out to be what I would say is the most maximum. We definitely don't want the spirals to go larger than our fingers. So as you can see there, I definitely have a lot of room to work with. So let's put this back on, and now we can see that we are having our ring line up with that 9 hiding right between the spirals there. So that is perfect. The beautiful thing about this style of ring is that you notice it is open and the wire is flexible. So the ring is adjustable. It's an adjustable size ring. Now what we were going to do is find a way to attach our little reindeer on the spiral just like that. So what we're going to do is I have some scrap 20 gauge size 26 silver plated wire, and the first thing we're going to do is find a way to attach our wire to our reindeer. So I'm going to wrap the first portion just right around the antlers, right between the head and the antlers, and I'll go ahead and wrap it around twice just for good measure. And then I can I guess we'll wrap it around the body, wrap it around the legs, and the goal is to have it end on this foot here. So you saw how I just kind of, let's see if we could get the focus in there. You see how there's a wrap around there, and then it wraps around the body over here, and then now it's towards the foot. Now we're ready to take those ends of the wire and attach it to the spiral. Actually, before we do that, we want to make sure we don't have too much wire, although I suppose we could clip this off either before or after, but let's go ahead and clip it off now. And then we want to make sure that this 26 gauge wire is going to get wrapped right in that nook between the wire here and the spiral. So we're weaving it through the ring hole, just like so, and we're just creating some coils. As I promised, I was going to show you what the coils look like as opposed to the spiral. Now if you look closely, you can see how this 26 gauge wire is coiling around the 18 gauge wire. So that's what a coil looks like. Coils kind of build outwards, whereas the spirals stay flat. Both of them are a circular design, but that's that subtle difference. Now we're going to go ahead and the wire, the 26 gauge wire that comes out on the foot, we're going to do the same thing, weaving some coils around this other wire. right between, and we'll pull it tight so that it winds between the spiral and the wire here. And if you notice that when you do some coils that it's a little bit loose, one thing you can do to tighten it is just work the wire back and forth like this, giving it a good tug. And you'll notice how that kind of tucks in and tightens up that wire. We really only need to do about 3 coils tops. Well, I won't say tops. You could do as many coils as you like. But I would say do at least 3. And you also want to make sure, if you notice, you see how my wire has kind of crossed over the coil, so it's overlapped on a previously coiled wire. You might want to undo it. That's not necessarily the proper technique, so go ahead and unwind it to correct that. Now you can see no wires are overlapping each other, and then we will proceed to continue coiling in the appropriate way. And in the appropriate way is so that the wire continues to wrap outwards along this wire in one direction, as opposed to going backwards and then forwards. That's just one of those kind of novice or pro tips for wire wrapping. It's not necessarily an advanced technique or anything, but it is something that kind of similar to the theme of the pokey tips. You want to make sure that you don't have any knots or any kinks or any type of wire mistakes that will be felt to the person who's wearing the jewelry. And that is definitely one of those kinks that might be subtle to the eye, but to our sensitive skin and fingers, we will definitely feel any kinks. So if you notice, I just went ahead and coiled up the rest of that wire. We'll go ahead and do the same thing over on this top end here. And that, my friends, is how we complete this seasonal beauty of a reindeer ring. Actually, I'm probably going to I don't need to do that by hand. I'll just use my flats or whatever pliers I'm comfortable with, and just go ahead and make sure that I massage the very tip end of the wire so that it's not a pokey tip. So you see how I left a nub there, and then I'm just gonna pinch and roll on that tip of the wire to make that nub disappear. It's all rolled in nice and neat, and now boom, a beautiful ring.